Hey guys, Matt Donald here. Once more, it is time for me to tell you about the Patreon at patreon.com/MatthewDonald. We're nearing 50 bonus episodes of Paleobites. 50 bonus episodes for you to listen to. Just pay that little bit of cheddar cheese and you get yourself a whole smorgasbord of Paleobites bonus content. Good stuff. Link is in the description for where you can sign up to the Patreon. Thank you for your support and have a good day. As for what we're talking about this month, I don't know, Jurassic Park, the movie. We haven't gotten around to that yet. Maybe it'll be the 50th. Who knows? We'll never know. Except for in a few months when the 50th episode comes out. We'll know then.
Roar. Growl. Snarl. Bellow.
Welcome to Paleobites, the podcast that likes its fossils like it likes its drinks on the rocks.
Ooh. Okay, that was actually a pretty good one. I've heard some of the other ones, and it's like, okay, seriously? That's your joke.
I mean, that's also this one, too. But my name's Matthew Donald. Each week, I and a rotating series of guest co-hosts talk about and rate adjacent prehistoric animal, be it dinosaur, mammal, arthropod, and so on. This week, I'm joined by someone who is not so easily impressed by my jokes in the start of the show. It's Alan Brooks. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am also doing good, or doing well, I should say. I'm an English major. I should say it correctly. English major, writing minor, and yet here I am on this paleontological show.
Yeah.
Man.
I got no comments on that.
Yes.
It's your passion.
It is my passion. I love writing. I have books. Buy my books on Amazon, guys. They're not buying themselves. I mean, they're buying themselves a little bit when I need to get, stacks of them to sell at conventions and such. But yeah. It's a dinosaur-related question. We're starting off with Lythronax today. You and I are big D&D players. You're our dungeon master, our DM. And normally for these episodes, I'm like, how do we incorporate this into our campaign? But we've already done that for this one.
We did, yes. And basically the idea was I sent them back in time to have dinosaurs, but because instead of doing the land before time thing where, all the dinosaurs coexisted in the same time, I was like, yeah, that would never fly with Matt. And so I had to specifically ask him, okay, what was an Allosaurus-sized carnivore in the Late Cretaceous? And he gave me Lythronax.
I gave you Lythronax because it has a cool name and it's about that size. So
it is the right size, yes. And then they proceeded to make absolute, complete, and utter fools of themselves.
We were cowards.
You're just dumb. Just accept it. You are dumb.
The Lythronax did 0 damage to us. What nearly gave us a total party kill was the river when we tried to escape from it.
No, it was not escape from it. You crossed the river once, saw it, ran away, and then when it got into the river, or for some reason it got stuck somewhere, your ranger cast Entangle on it. You're like, let's cross the river again. Yay! Whereupon everyone got washed. Actually, everyone but one person got washed down the river.
Yes.
I am literally DMing, just sitting there with my head in my hands, like I've watched a movie or watched a YouTube video about running water being the deadliest thing in D&D.
It certainly is. It's as we definitely demonstrated.
You managed to survive, but that's only because I gave you rocks.
Gave me rocks, and we had some very lucky rolls. So
very lucky rolls, yes.
All right, but we're talking. So Lythronax has been a bit of a problem for us. Except for, again, it wasn't the Lythronax's fault.
The Lythronax, if he could talk, would say, "Yeah,
you fools!
I had some weird things, pale skin things, trying to cross the river.
I was taking a nap when
down the river, and then I took a nap, and they were gone. They were so stupid."
They were so I was taking my nap when 3 utter morons tried to sneak past me and got washed up river, and I didn't even have to roar or anything. They were like, and then they wanted to sneak past, so they...
Yeah.
Anyway,
let's talk about Lythronax. How big is this thing?
We'll get to how big it is. I see you're excited about it, but first we gotta go through some other stuff. First, it means Gore King, which is an incredible name.
Try hard.
Yeah. I wonder if it comes from the same, like with werewolves. What's it called? What are they called? Lythronax?
Lycanthropy.
Oh, lycanthropy. It's a little bit different. Okay, lichen. That's what I'm thinking. Lycanthropy instead of lythro.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where I got confused. Okay, so all right, but it's a tyrannosaurid.
We don't know Latin, unfortunately.
Yeah, tyrannosaurid, a group of Silurisaurian theropods that includes Albertosaurus, Gorgosaurus, Daspletosaurus, Tarbosaurus, and something else I'm forgetting. I'm sure. Can't quite put my finger on it. The species in particular is also in the subclade of tyrannosaurs called the Teratophoniids, which, as well as the Gore King Lythronax, this includes Teratophonius, or monster murderer, and Dynamoterror. Like, these try-hard names. They all skip school to play Shadow the Hedgehog.
Shadow the Hedgehog and joiners in dinosaur form. But yeah, lots of try-hard names.
Yes.
But, you know...
Did they earn that reputation?
Considering that their descendant, which is a little bit of a spoiler, is Tyrannosaurus Rex, Tyrant Lizard King.
And not the Tyrannosaurus Rex beetle that we just did earlier a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Out of the blue.
He didn't tell me beforehand.
No, it was great. All right. Sorry. Here's the size. Forgotten to the size. Size 21 and 26 feet, 6.5 to 8 meters long, 1.4 to 2 tons. So yeah, about Allosaurus size, particularly if you go with the idea that Allosaurus was actually only about 7 to 8 or 9 meters long, and the big ones that you often see in Walking with Dinosaurs are like 12 meters long. That's actually Saurophagonax. So,
really?
Yeah.
Have you already done an episode on that one?
I have, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Drag. 'Cause I was thinking that's one you could discuss. The shifting between the differences between
some
the two.
People
how they
still
could split
think
them.
some people still think that the Shantungus, not Shantungus, that's another dinosaur. Saurophagonax is actually another species of Allosaurus called Allosaurus gigantus, or Allosaurus maximus. I'm sorry. And it's not different enough to be its own species, but the idea of it being its own species is currently winning out right now. So
okay, huh.
So
interesting. All right.
Poor
Side
Allosaurus,
tangent.
always playing second fiddle. But even in its own time and place. Diet's carnivore. I mean, Gore King, duh.
Gore King. This thing is not going to be enjoying any salads anymore.
Well, man, to be fair, I'd call some sort of angry bulls like a Gore King, depending on how angry. Oh, or like a rhino or something. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Those wouldn't gore you, I guess. But they do some damage.
True. That's a good point. But no, this thing is very much a theropod carnivore that you can all imagine that.
Yeah, it's just going to things. That's
it's a biter.
Yes,
as it should be, considering it is a tyrannosaurid
with the big heads meant for crushing. Yes,
big heads, strong jaws meant for biting hard and breaking bones.
Exactly.
So this one was not going to be killing any massive hadrosaurs.
Well, there were some hadrosaurs that could eat, not necessarily massive ones. We'll get to that, the paleoecology of it. Time Late Cretaceous, 81.9 to 81.5 million years ago. That's very specific. That's just the range of the fossil specimens we found. That doesn't necessarily mean it was only from that specific time, nor does it mean that it lived that entire specific time frame either. Whenever I say like the time, it's always an estimate based on when the fossils were found. And again, it's just
an estimate on how deep the rocks were buried in the certain sediments.
It's amazing how some of the details of certain things that we can figure out from some. We now know that we're pretty sure that when the meteor hit, it was during the springtime of the northern hemisphere. So I don't know how we know that, but that's pretty cool.
Sounds like some very smart geologist.
Yeah. Location, Utah, USA, in the Wahweap Formation. That big Utah Formation isn't the Morrison or the Kaiparowitz one, I suppose. It also stretches all the way to Arizona, this formation. Yeah. So
very much in the south central part of Utah.
Yeah, Utah is it's not a very populous place. You got Salt Lake City, and then that's it. Even then, Salt Lake City is like. It's not like a big city by any stretch of the imagination. Wonderful skiing in Utah, though. I've gone skiing in Utah quite a few times. Have you been skiing in Utah?
No.
Have you ever been skiing
Colorado,
in general?
But that was because I lived there.
Yeah, well, I live there too. So, but we went to Utah once, around the Salt Lake City area. Described in 2013, pop culture appearances, the Nintendo DS game Fossil Fighters, and the mobile games Jurassic World Alive, Jurassic World the Game, and Dinosaur World Mobile. So. Yes. Anyways, so Lythronax, it is a tyrannosaurid, and as we talked about in the last recording we did that got lost. Actually, no, my end is fine. Yours was just never recorded.
Mine is fine. Mine is ruined. I'll apologize. That's
okay. In case anyone wants to hear a one-sided talk through mine, I guess I can upload that to the Patreon if anyone's curious.
Have a Patreon exclusive,
where it's just one half. Yeah. But Lythronax is the earliest tyrannosaurid, but not the earliest tyrannosauroid. Because
yes, we had to figure that. We figured that out as we were researching about it.
Yeah, so tyrannosauroids include the early proceratosaurids like Guanglong and Eutyrannus. The tyrannosaurids, the ones that are a lot closer to Tyrannosaurus, and so this is the earliest one of those. So.
Okay.
So it was also very robust. So it might not have been a long-distance runner, even though it was smaller. Some studies have actually said that baby tyrannosaurs were actually some of the fastest dinosaurs. Specifically, baby tyrannosaurs. Like, when they were babies, they had a completely different ecological niche than when they were grown up, so...
Okay. So they were basically much more fast, agile chasers, perhaps, than when the adults were more the heavy sluggers, perhaps, right?
Yes, exactly. So, which also leads credence to the theory that they did not hunt in packs, although some of them might have had some for a pack. Like, we found a bunch of Albertosauruses together. In fact, we found a burial of 26 Albertosauruses together, including, adults and children and other stuff. And I'm like, imagine a pack of 26 of those things. Now, I'm sure it was not really one big pack, but that's still, that's a huge pack.
That's a huge group. I mean, even if they weren't cooperative true pack hunters like you see in hyenas and particularly wolves and whatnot, still, that means that they can take down, by just sheer weight of themselves, a lot bigger things. Now, we have no idea if Lythronax is, and as he mentioned before, this is the earliest Tyrannosauridae. Tyrannosaurid, or...
Tyrannosaurid, not the earliest Tyrannosauroid. Yeah.
It's the earliest Tyrannosaurid.
Yes.
Which means all of the Tyrannosaurids that followed that would be developed branching from this. See, that's the
well that's not necessarily true. There could be an ancestor that's another branch. We don't know specifically this was a direct ancestor, but it was close to the direct ancestors at the very least.
Close to the direct ancestor of all the Tyrannosaurids, at least as far as we know. Again,
there's some other there's some ones further.
Paleontology is trying to put together a puzzle. A very, very massive, complicated puzzle based purely on very generic shapes and missing half the pieces.
Well, and also based on this,
a lot of guesswork.
Based on this taxography here, taxography. What was that term? Oh my God! When people come up with taxonomical graph, that's what I'm looking for. Actually, Lythronax might have been the earliest, but it was not all the other ones because some of the other ones have come from branching paths that came from earlier ones. This is weird because Gorgosaurus and Albertosaurus and Displeosaurus are from an earlier branch that but also happened to evolve later. So who knows?
Ooh. So got perhaps some ancestors of those ones that could potentially be connected sometime.
Because then, you got there's Teratophonius and then Bishta Reverser, the other one in that group. That one's not just try-hard sounding. But these are in a group here. And, the Displeosaurus and Gorgosaurus are still Tyrannosaurids, and they're from later, but they're from an earlier branch, according to this cladogram. That's the term I was looking for.
Wow.
So it's weird. And then later on in the cladogram is Tyrannosaurus, Tarbosaurus, and Zeuxingtyrannus. I don't know if you ever heard of Zeuxingtyrannus. It's funny looking at a skeleton of it. Because if you look at the skeleton of it, you're just like, that's a T-Rex skeleton. Because it's basically you know how Tarbosaurus is the other T-Rex? And that's basically the same size and basically the same shape, but just from Asia.
Okay.
Particularly the Gobi Desert. Well, Zeuxingtyrannus is the other T-Rex because it's also about
China.
It's also about the same size, and it's also about the same. Here, I'll send you a skeleton of it attacking a juvenile Shantungosaurus.
No, I can actually see some of the ones in the previews on Wikipedia. So
yeah, there's a skeleton. It looks just like, look at that skull. That's a T-Rex skull, right? Like, I can't tell the
Looks
difference.
very much like a T-Rex skull.
Yeah, but no, it's not.
Congratulations to the people who managed to tell that apart, other than we found this not in the western United States sort of thing.
Well, and also it was from way earlier. It was from 73 million years ago. T-Rex was near the end. T-Rex was like 68 to like 66 million years ago, so.
Okay.
Zeus and Tyrannosaurus, looking at, it's just T-Rex. Like, it's basically just, sort of like Tarbosaurus is just T-Rex. I think this might be weird to think, but for me, Zeus and Tyrannosaurus looks more like T-Rex than Tarbosaurus does. Like, I don't know why that is. Maybe I'm just,
that is
maybe.
odd.
Actually, no, looking at Tarbosaurus, I don't know, they're just all T-Rex to me.
Yeah. And it sounds
Except
like
for
there may actually be different, what was the thing you used about the top of the descendants thing of the Tyrannosaurids? What was the name?
The cladogram? What?
Yeah, the cladogram. Because on Wikipedia, there are actually two different cladograms
Yes.
of the Tyrannosauridae.
The one I was looking at was, both of them say that Albertosaurinae, another sort of subgroup, is like a little bit further, because like there's the Tyrannosaurids, and then further down is the Tyrannosaurines. So the subfamilies of Tyrannosauric. Man, taxonomy and all that kind of stuff, and all the cladistics of it all. It's really great stuff. It's not confusing at all.
Yeah,
I can see where there's different cladograms published
of everything. Yeah.
Also the clay Tyrannophony, the one I said that was like with all the tryhards, that was only added to the cladogram in 2023, so last year. So,
oh wow! So that one is very new.
Yeah.
But yeah, long and short of it is, sorry about that long tangent, is that Lythronax is one of the oldest Tyrannosaurids that we have evidences of. Now, there is evidence that others exist, we just don't have their fossils.
Right, exactly. So, and in terms of like what it preyed on, you said it might not preyed on some big
no sauropods, and probably not the giant hadrosaurs, but
there was the hadrosaur Cristavis. It's a genus of saurophene dinosaur. Let's see how big it was. I didn't check this last time. Why is there not a size estimate? Come on! Am I supposed to just guess?
Yeah. Though, something scary that we discussed last time was, this thing is actually the perfect size to look at humans and say, "Ooh, that's a tasty." Oh yeah, because
it's like 7 feet tall, like at eye level. Like obviously, as the overall head is like 9 or 10 feet, but like it could look at you right in the eye. Because this, along with T-Rex, is one of the only Tyrannosaurids that had forward-facing eyes to give it full depth perception. So
yes, and had the correct face shape. You know how Tyrannosaurus had that kind of narrow spot just above, kind of midway through the head. Yeah, this thing could very easily look a little bit down and look you dead in the eye and think, that's lunch. So yeah,
and also,
as opposed to Tyrannosaurus Rex, which was just too big, the idea it would chase down humans is
like it might if it's like a little bit hungry, but wouldn't make much of an effort for it. Like but
if you get too close and it bites you and it finds you in its jaws, it's like, oh, okay.
Honestly, the whole thing with it chasing the Jeep in Jurassic Park, probably the only reason why it was doing that was purely instinct. It would have gone after more the Jeep than them, thinking it was some sort of prey.
I can agree on. It most definitely would have gone after the Jeep.
If it had caught them, it would have gone after the Jeep rather than them. They would have shaken the Jeep loose like a toy.
It would have seen it as a fairly large animal. And you notice that even in the when it attacks the electric vehicles in the tour vehicles, it didn't try and immediately bust in to get the kids. It got attracted to, the vehicle first and then attacked the vehicle. And even when the kids were moving around in the thing, it still was going after the car.
The only reason why it went after the lawyer was because he was just sitting right there. It was like, might as well. It's not like it got much out of that.
No.
So yeah.
Nope.
But yeah, so Lythronax would have gone after maybe some Archristivus, which I'm seeing is basically about like maybe 20s or 25 feet long or something like that, like sort of like a smaller hadrosaur. There's also with the Ceratopsian Diabloceratops, which I quite like. I used it in my Megazoic books. Diabloceratops. It's in this group of squad from the Alpha Squad introduced in the second Megazoic book that are all just dinosaurs with the most scary sounding names to make them sound like really intimidating. So you got Diabloceratops, Gigantoraptor, Tyrannotitan, and Sauroniops, which doesn't sound as scary at first until you realize that it means Eye of Sauron.
Oh, wow.
Sauroniops, yep.
Freaky, okay.
Which might or might not have been a type of Carcharodontosaurus. It's a controversial genus.
Yep.
So,
Trying
but
to
anyways,
debate all these things as always.
It's
It's always a complicated thing.
I blame Jack Horner always merging all these species together. How dare he? They made him the villain of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish for a reason. That's a different Jack Horner. I know.
I know.
The one who sat in the corner. As opposed to the paleontologist. But yeah, so Lythronax, it's just basically a little tyrannosaur that would be more of a threat to us than T-Rex. It might have had feathers. It might not have.
We do know that Tyrannosaurus Rex had skin impressions without feathers, but it was also a theropod, and theropods...
It was also in the group of theropods that all had feathers, pretty much.
That all had feathers, so it's like...
Like, it was in the Coelurosaurians,
yes,
which is what...
no... Probably, I believe, like you mentioned before, there was probably...
Like in the early episode, yeah, the Lost episode.
Yeah.
We mentioned, yeah, because like I mentioned...
Then it would probably have feathers along kind of the top of its head, along perhaps its back, maybe along the shoulders. Basically things to be where it could potentially use brightness of colors or just maybe some extra protection.
Well, like,
or whatnot.
If you look at it in the Jurassic World Dominion prologue, it has feathers in that, but it's shown in places where we don't have the skin impressions. They actually did their research on where the right place to have feathers would be. So, which is pretty cool, I think.
That is cool.
They do their research, guys. People are like, oh, these movies, they don't do their research. It's like, no, they do. They just don't let they don't let science get in the way of a good story, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
So that's why it may seem like that make some issues. And they do make some issues, but it's for the sake of the story. Like, they know that a Atrociraptor didn't look like that. So...
Yeah.
So, Lythronax, this is probably long enough for us. We talk about everything we need to without wasting too much time, because, again, this is another recording of this. So, let's rate it 1 out of 65 million. I'm going to rate it, I don't even remember what I rated last time we recorded this, but I'm going to rate this
50 million, I think.
Yeah,
it has
I think
a really
it's
cool name, and it has a really cool lineage that it's starting. It is starting, if you will, the lineage of the large theropod tyrannosaurids, where its primary weapon was not its running down, but its jaws, where it would attack with big bites, grab on, rip through flesh and muscle and tendon to try and crack the bone. Because you break bones, it's a much harder process to heal from that. And use that and whatever size it has to take down prey, which would give us eventually the Tyrannosaurus Rex. I do have a question on how the Tarbosaurus and the... What was the
Zunching
Tyrannus. It's like, how are they in the Tyrannosauridae family...
They're in another group further down the lineage alongside Daspletosaurus.
Yeah, well, I was just like, how did they get across, the Pacific?
Alaska and Russia were connected were back then, so.
Okay, so Bering Land Bridge was existent. That would make sense.
A little bit different from the one that happened in the Ice Age, because the one in the Ice Age was because of sea levels. This was actually the continents were put together, so.
Yeah, okay.
That's why you get like
land bridge and more of just
you got dromaeosaurs
together. Okay,
that's the same reason why you got dromaeosaurs and ceratopsians in both Asia and America too. So, so yeah. All right. Well, I rated it 56 million. I think that was around the thing you gave it to.
Yeah, about 60 million something. Yeah.
That's a good enough rating for me. Lythronax, yay. Anyways, that's it for this week. You want to get hold of the show and contact me at paleobitespodcast@gmail.com. our Paleobites Pod on Twitter and Paleobites Podcast on Instagram. You can find me on social media at Matthew Donald Creator on Facebook and Matthew Donald 64 everywhere else. So like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. If you want to contact Alan, just send me an email through the Paleobites Podcast email or my other email, and I'll relay any questions.
I don't do social media.
Good for you. I've fallen into that well, and I can't get out of it. Lassie, doesn't matter how much Lassie barks to free me. I'm stuck down here. In this well.
Yep.
But one thing I should say, I didn't do this last time. We got a new review of Paleobites on Apple Podcasts. So it's from, I'm just going to read it here, and if you can rate it 1 out of 5 I say 1 out of 5 stars. I'd prefer 5 stars, but you can be honest if you want.
Yeah.
So we rate it 5 stars on Apple Podcasts if you could. It gets the algorithm going. Every little review counts. Lost Legends, with a Z at the end, rate it 5 stars. They say, love it. One of my favorite podcasts to listen to. It's funny, educational, and a treat for everyone who likes dinosaurs. Great to listen to when you're doing chores or just want to relax or have a laugh. That is what we do. So,
we do. Enjoy our random ramblings and trying to teach you about some more exotic, if you will, or unmysterious, or just different dinosaurs.
We'll see you on the Zungshin Tyrannus episode, whatever that.
Oh boy!
Eventually we're gonna do all of them. That's the thing. Like, this show's gonna go on forever. So eventually all of them will be done. Right? It's like the monkeys with typewriters. Eventually, if a million monkeys with a million typewriters start typing up episodes of Paleobites, eventually they'll cover all the episodes, all the episodes of all the prehistoric animals that have ever existed.
All right, you got quite a list ahead of you. But yeah.
All right. I have a book series on Amazon Megazoic available for print and Kindle. And Lythronax, the animal we talked about previously, there is a character for it in my Megazoic books. It's not like a named character, but it's the mother of 2 very important characters. She's a posthumous character. She's dead. So again, this world, they breed in labs, so any species can be with any species and have kids of any species. So the Lythronax is the mother, and a Tyrannosaurus is the father. Mother and father of 2 very important characters in the later books.
That will be it for today in Lythronax.
Yes, and as we say at the end of every episode of Paleobites, give me a roar. Except they didn't actually roar. Never mind. We think they might have growled like crocodiles. So give me a real throat.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways, bye.
Bye.